GM. Welcome to what's going to be another great episode of DevNTell. So if you didn't know, DevNTell is a 30-minute podcast held every week for founders, hackers, and anyone in between to come on the show and showcase their product. And today I'm ecstatic to welcome Jake Hall, who's a DevRel at Hedera HashGraph. So if you didn't know, Hedera is an open source, leaderless proof-of-stake network that powers the next generation of the web. So if you stick around for today's episode, you'll see Jake give us an overview of Hedera, a brief recon of how HederaCon went yesterday, and how you can start using Hedera today. All right, let's get into it. GM, welcome to the show, Jake. Pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to talking about all things Hedera, AI, HederaCon, anything that gets asked of me. So yeah, really excited for this, man.
Excellent. Yeah, looking forward to it as well. I guess before we get into all the great stuff you have prepared for us, did you want to give a brief intro about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I work at HashGraph. HashGraph it's a bit confusing. I think other blockchains have a similar multi-organizational structure. Hedera is the blockchain. That's our limited company based in the United States, registered in Texas. They've got the governing council who basically operate the day-to-day, the network and the nodes, and also help with the strategy of the network. I work for HashGraph, where HashGraph, a few years ago, we were Hedera, but then we sort of split up apart. You can think of it as the labs to Hedera. So we're working on the development. We've got the big engineering team. I'm also part of the marketing team, where there's obviously a lot of support with marketing that happens from HashGraph. So I'm in developer relations, as I mentioned, sitting under the marketing section. But yeah, that's sort of a quick background about me in terms of what I'm doing at the moment. And I've been in this position since November. So I joined HashGraph in DevRel since November. First DevRel role, actually, but sort of I've been doing it without realizing it for the past 2 or 3 years. So I've been building in the community, specifically on Hedera, for about 3 years now. And yeah, when I found out that there was this DevRel opportunity, and I was like, you can get paid for this? Sign me up. Because I was doing a lot of content before anyway. I was doing a lot of telling people about the network and trying to get people to give it a try.
Awesome, man. Yeah. A lot of folks don't realize they're doing the work of DevRel. So that's how they end up getting the jobs they do. That's amazing, man. I guess prior to that, do you want to dive in a little bit around your background in tech? Like, did you start off your tech career in Web3, or were you doing software development or something else before?
Yeah, so I guess the first time which I dabbled in tech, I've always been more of a mathsy, scientific person. So that's been my strongest set of skills, as I think a lot of engineers in the space and a lot of people in this community. Besides all of the amazing artists, I take that back. We've got amazing diversity of all sorts of talents in the Web3 space, which is why it makes it so good. But I first dabbled in web development when I was pretty young, when I was maybe 12 or 13. And that's just because, I don't know, I somehow... Well, I guess I wanted to learn how to build a website, and I just sort of went through and did it, and just with HTML and a bit of CSS, a bit of JavaScript, pretty superficial stuff. And then I took a bit of a break, and it was actually when I was about 17, 18 when I really started going back at it again. And I'd still always been quite interested in coding, and then I had some, I guess, entrepreneurial ideas. I've always been a bit entrepreneurial, and often you need to have a website to show your amazing $1 million business idea that you have. So that's when I got back into it and back into web development. And this time was a bit more mature. So as opposed to just being your vanilla HTML and CSS, that's when I started getting exposure to front-end frameworks like React. Started looking more into the back-end side of things as well. And since then, I've just been coding pretty much nonstop, every single day at least. And when I got into Web3, a few years after that, when I was essentially buying Bitcoin, buying Ethereum from an investment perspective. And I was kind of like, okay, well, what actually does this blockchain do? So I started reading into it a bit more, and started looking at Solidity smart contracts for obviously the EVM, and started playing around with it from there. and then ultimately pivoted, found out about Hedera, and sort of then basically got stuck in the Hedera ecosystem. Not that it's a bad thing at all. It's a very, very fortunate thing to be stuck into. And I've basically been developing on Hedera, for about the last 3 years. So that's sort of my journey. It started with more Web 2 stuff, but pretty quickly pivoted to Web 3. And I've always been quite a strong affiliation to these concepts of ownership, and then also the operational efficiencies that can be achieved when it comes to tokenization, given you're sort of transacting tokens all on chain, and also like the democratization that it can really bring on sort of multiple perspectives. But I think the one example which I often give is how you can have exposure to particular asset classes from anywhere in the world, theoretically, which previously you might need to have $50,000 for, which immediately rules over 95% of the world's population. So having this tokenization, fractional ownership, and all of that stuff which tokenization of real world assets enables is quite exciting for me in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like a very subtle piece not a lot of people understand or don't grasp immediately, but it's a very powerful concept. And your origin story is very, very familiar. A lot of folks have started in the space just as speculators, but then went down the rabbit hole. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so totally self-taught when it comes to development, which I think has its pros and cons. But I'm always looking to keep up skilling. And I guess more of the recent one is AI. I'm sort of heavily at my role at HashGraph, heavily involved with AI agents. I also did start getting into sort of leveraging generative AI a couple of years ago now, in the sense of not just for accelerating the development, but also building applications with LangChain, RAG, that sort of stuff. So it's really nice now to see there is convergence between AI agents and sort of the frameworks that have been happening kind of in parallel. They do now seem to be converging. And there is a nice intersect of AI and blockchain, which I'm really, really excited about as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like just a year or two back, whenever I mentioned rather, like how AI and Web3 would intersect, a lot of people are like, oh, it's not really there yet, so on and so forth. And then it's like, oh, bang, it's like, oh, it's all the rage now. It's all the rage now. Yeah, exactly. Amazing, man. And you're at ETH Denver, correct?
That's correct. So I got here, flew over from the UK. That's where I live. I'm from England. Half English, half Spanish, but I've grown up in England my whole life. And got here on Saturday. Bit of jet lag, but straight at the event on Sunday. Good sort of initial networking, telling people about our bounties, which I sort of briefly mentioned. So obviously, if you are at ETH Denver and you're watching this, then we definitely come over to the Hedera booth. We've got $50,000 worth of bounties, so pretty big prizes there. There is a $20,000 bounty for EVM development, so the winner would get $10,000, and then there's prizes for second, third, and fourth. There's a $25,000 bounty for AI agents. Again, winner gets $15,000, and then second, third, fourth also get a smaller chunk. And if you're sort of interested in Hedera, maybe you're watching this and you're like, Hedera, I've heard of it. I see them maybe at ETH Denver, but you don't know much about it. We also have a smaller track, Hedera Explorers, which you just need to use any one of the Hedera services, build an app, and there's five $1,000 prizes on the lines for that one.
Wow, a lot of money to be made, and all you gotta do is hack.
All you gotta do is hack, and you can also, like, I don't know, let's say you do a EVM track which uses Chainlink or whatever. If Chainlink have a bounty, you can actually apply to both as well. So there's no harm in strategically identifying where are the overlaps. Definitely, if you are looking to use like oracles and bridges, this is some stuff which Hedera we've been integrating and really focusing on over the last year, really ensuring that we are totally EVM compatible, and we offer all of the tools that EVM builders need to have to make sort of these interoperable apps, which is what the future is.
100%. And I always look forward to these hackathons as like basically all the next gen companies kind of get spun out of here, right? So it's really fun times. I guess also wanted to touch on HederaCon. HederaCon was yesterday, and the after party, the DD Hedera after party also took place. Spill the tea. What was the highlights? In your opinion?
It was a really, I mean, sort of looking back on it, It was only yesterday, so I've got a pretty good memory of it. But it was just a really well executed event, and I don't think anything went wrong. A big shout out to the whole team who've organized it, particularly some colleagues within marketing of mine. So Lena, Alison, if you're watching this, big thanks to you. You really did an amazing job. It was everything on time. We had some really big names, amazing talks. I mean, one of the highlights would, of course, been Lehman Baird speaking with Charles Hoskinson. So Lehman is the founder of Hedera, founder of the HashGraph consensus algorithm. He's still obviously heavily related within the business, as well as Charles Hoskinson, as everyone knows, the founder of Cardano. So they were both on stage showing some really fascinating insights, like proper big picture stuff. Almost all of us devs and DevRels, we get bogged down. Not bogged down. We're here speaking with the people on ground, but obviously these guys, they're looking at the strategic 5-year, 10-year plan, identifying which countries and how to identify, how to deal with particular countries based on politics and whatever. So getting that understanding, I just thought was really great, and that's just scratching the surface in terms of the quality of speakers. We had a main stage. All of this, by the way, has been recorded. So I think if you go to the Hedera channel, you'll be able to find it. But we had a main stage with some really big names. I mean, we had guests obviously within the ecosystem, but also people from Swift came over. Loads of people who I would have missed. And then we had a nice tech stage as well, which again, if you're a techie person looking to find out a bit more about Hedera, that tech stage is going to be a great place, because we got sort of all of its really high quality audio footage, that sort of stuff. But a lot of the most recent innovations that have been going on within the Hedera ecosystem from the technical level was covered on that part. So definitely recommend it to check out the hedera.com website, have a look at the live stream, and find something which you're interested in, skip through to it, give it a like and subscribe. But yeah, it was great. Food was good. The vibes were really good. There was some community members who had their stalls up. Yeah, it was just a really good day. I think definitely superseded my expectations. A nice balance of people within the ecosystem, developers, as well as the retail community, H-barbarians, and also people who are looking to maybe didn't even hear about Hedera, or have heard about it but haven't really stepped foot in. And I think that was just a testament to the quality of speakers and the organization of it. It was really good.
Amazing. Love to hear that. And yeah, I'll definitely be checking out some of the videos. So unfortunately, wasn't able to make it ETH Denver this year, but that's that. Yeah. Pardon me?
Have you been to ETH Denver before?
I have not.
Okay.
One of these years, I'll make the trek down. But
we'll meet up when you're here.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, I guess with that, did you want to bring up the content you had prepared?
Let's do it.
Today?
Yeah. For sure. So I guess just quickly before I do pull it up,
yeah.
What I'm about to share is specifically regarding AI agents. So I mentioned earlier we have one of these tracks at ETH Denver, AI agents. That's not right. Actually, it's AI or AI agents. So anyone can build any sort of AI tool. Maybe like data provenance on the training side, but I'm going to be focusing this quick demo on the AI agent side of things. It's not, if you're watching this in the future, after ETH Denver's over, we still have lots of hackathons planned for AI agents. So I think this is going to be quite good. And then I'm just going to be sharing some of the recent open source stuff, which we've been doing within the AI agent space. So I'll share my screen now, entire screen. And there we go. Is the screen on the stage? There we go. Cool. Okay. Right. So yeah, let me just show. So in terms of AI agents, we have this is currently the SDKs, the developer kits that a developer who wants to build on Hedera, build an AI agent on Hedera would use. So we've got the Hedera Agent Kit SDK, and I'll obviously go into what that is. We've got the Hedera ELIZA plugin, and we have the Hedera LangChain/LangGraph agent implementation as well. And to give a quick summary as to each one, I'll deep dive into them and show them in action. The Hedera Agent Kit SDK, we can find it over here. Essentially what this is it's a big class which aggregates lots of Hedera functions like mint, NFT, token, transfer, HBAR, claim airdrop, all of these core functions which may be needed by a particular agent can be found in this in this class, which I just say, yeah, it's an aggregation of all of these interactions with the Hedera network. So it's relatively opinionated. And let's take a look at, say, the create token function. So this create token function, this method, this create fungible token method, when you use the native SDK on sort of that base layer, it's very highly configurable. You can edit loads and keys. There's a lot of customization. With this particular implementation, it's a bit more opinionated. And I guess part of the reason for that is just to make it easier for the AI agent to understand the intent, and then sort of actually create the token. And often there's some stuff which is needed for more advanced use cases, but maybe for your generic AI agent, it might not be needed. So that's sort of a bit about this Hedera agent kit. Now, the reason for this is it acts as a really good base class to then actually integrate and build integrations for other AI agent frameworks. The ELIZA plugin, of course, being one of them, as well as the LangChain framework. So in both of these ELIZA plugins and the LangChain agent, we are importing the Hedera agent kit SDK and using that opinionated class and all of its easy methods to allow the agent to have the tools that it needs to interact with the Hedera network. So that's sort of a bit about the architecture. And then you can find these repos. I mean, if you have a look at my, I've got this document up. This is sort of aimed at people at ETH Denver at the moment. You can find this on my Twitter. It's the pin post at the moment. My Twitter is jcool3, JAYCOOL3. And it basically gives all of the repos and everything like that, all of the setup that's required. We can play around with it today as well. And yeah, but the repos are also here, totally open source. I mean, if you want to contribute to it, amazing, please do. It also counts as one of the AI/AI agent submissions if you're contributing to our agent kit. We had a really cool, guest or a cool builder at ETH Denver who I was speaking to just the other day. And then I come back to my hotel and find out he's already raised a pull request for SourceSwap, which is one of our decentralized exchanges. So that was a really, really, really heartwarming thing to see. But again, the Hedera agent kit's open source. We've got this Hedera ELIZA plugin, which we're working to get pulled into the ELIZA plugin registry. And I think now's probably a good time for me to, I guess, I'll show the LangChain agent in action because I've got it open. And I mean, here what I've got is I've cloned the Hedera agent kit SDK repo. So that's here, that's this one. I've cloned this repo. Also inside of this repo, we have our LangChain agent, all of the tools for our LangChain agent. So sort of this is the LangChain implementation of our Hedera agent kit. And I've cloned that. I've obviously got my environment variables all set up. And you can sort of run a test with it just by obviously doing the npm test script. And what it does is it gives you the option to basically chat with it. So we can see some of the functionalities that are currently supported. So I'll enter the chat mode. It also does have an autonomous action mode, which is a bit not very useful at the moment. But we can sort of ask it generic questions like, let's see what it does first. Hey, what can you do? And it should give back all of the tools it has access to.
And sorry, is this running? Is the LLM running locally on your machine or via inference API?
So this is using an inference API. It's a good question. So currently we're just using OpenAI, but actually with LangChain, one of the great things about LangChain, and also in fairness, ELIZA, is their support is their agnosticism for the relevant LLM provider that you use. So we can have a look at how it gets implemented over here. We've got this create React agent, which is coming from LangGraph. LangGraph being like a subset of LangChain. So a React agent. It's not Web3. It's not web development React. React here is I've forgotten what it's like. It's broken up into re and act, and I think act is reason then act, something like that. But it's basically it's a methodology when it comes to interpreting texts and then identifying which action to use. So it's quite a popular method when it comes to AI agents. And we can see that when we create this React agent, I think it's reasoning and action, I think. we pass in this LLM, which we can set up here. So currently I'm using Chat OpenAI, but actually I could just as easily use, I could say, I could do new Olama. So Olama should be one of them, or Chat Olama. I might need to install it separately, but it's essentially my point being is that you can use other, you can use Anthropic, you can use Olama, where Olama is a sort of something which you run locally. It's that little tool up here where you can then get open source models and you can run it on your local computer. I do find that typically unless you can get like maybe a 70 billion parameter model for Olama, for something like Llama 70B, the smaller models sometimes don't pick up the correct action as well as the likes of GPT-4 and obviously the other reasoning models that are around there. But it's very flexible, and it's also very flexible with ELIZA as well. You can really plug in whichever LLM you want to use, which I think is very helpful. And you can also create these multi-agent flows where, okay, you've got one agent which uses GPT-4 because maybe it needs to be able to understand what is the user's intent out of these 12 tools which I have. Which of them do I need to, out of these 12 tools which I have, which of them do I need to call? Maybe for that one, you want to use a bit more of a mature state-of-the-art model. Whereas after that's done, maybe you just need to do some post-processing afterwards. And in that case, you can probably outsource that to a local model, which is running like a 7 billion parameter model that can basically run on most computers pretty well now. But we can like ask it to create us a token. So create a token called DevDAO, and well, let's do it. We'll do it properly. We're going to developer DAO and symbol DAO. Now it should be intelligent enough here. I've not given it enough information, but LangChain, I think because of the reasoning, this reasoning then action. Oh, it's done it. Okay. So, sometimes what happens is it goes, there's more, you need to give me more information. But I guess we've got default parameters here. So maybe if I didn't give it the name, it'd go, you need to give me more information. And it would then ask the user to obviously prompt it again. But as you can see, we've now created this new token. We can then say, okay, airdrop that token to, I can just get a spin up an account of mine quickly. Testnet one, that's not the right one. So I can we can just say, send it over to this account. Give them 1,000, and this will do an airdrop to them. And we can query it even more. We could say, okay, well, what's the current balance now? I guess we can check the balance. So check the balance of that token to that account. So hopefully this should now, the LLM here, and this is where, I mean, something like a smaller model would probably struggle a bit more. But part of when we set up this agent, we gave it memory. So we gave it the ability to sort of have this sort of short-term memory where it knows the context that it's sort of being asked questions within. So we have here, check the balance of that token to that account. Now, if I was to ask it without all of the previous context, it'd be like, what are you talking about? But obviously we've just said, okay, airdrop that token to this particular account. So it realizes that token is the one we just created. That account is this. So it will call the token balance check. And as you can see, we have developer DAO tokens for account is 1,000 DAO. And it's done the query over here. So we can see it's done the mirror node query. Now, this is a very sort of high level demonstration as to what you can build, but obviously you can build something far more thorough. And we've been hearing things like basically lowering the barrier to access to DeFi, where if you have 100,000 HBAR and you want to put it to work, you would currently have to either do a very, very basic staking protocol that there's HBARX or stake the actual HBAR token to the network, but that has relatively low yields. So you'd probably have to then go, okay, well, look into the DeFi world, look into the different DEXs and whatever, or borrowing lending protocols that we have, and have to learn about them and realize, okay, well, what sort of risk appetite do I have? And okay, I now need to learn about providing liquidity. So that there are various concepts which are generally quite tricky and require a bit of upskilling. And I mean, people just coming into Web3, they're just getting their head around wallets, I guess. So what you could technically do with these AI agents is improve that user experience. I've got my 100,000 HBAR. I could then be speaking to an LLM, an AI agent, which goes, right, I've got this amount. I'm happy to go for something higher risk. And then the LLM can maybe use one of its tools, which searches for the yields of particular liquidity pools or particular other protocols on the network, can maybe return it to the user, go, these are potential options that you have, can give it a bit more context to help the user understand, and then it could actually execute the particular smart contract function which would be needed. So if it's providing liquidity to a liquidity pool, there's almost two steps there. You need to swap it to another token, the token B, and then provide both of those tokens as liquidity. Now, the AI agent could abstract all of that and do it for the end user, ultimately making it a much friendlier user experience, especially as we're seeing a convergence to this chat user interface, which the next generation of young'uns are basically totally native with now and sort of almost expecting to a degree. So that's the quick demo. I could do this all day, and we've really just done a very high level sort of demonstration of this LangChain particular part. We do of course have the Hedera plugin, Eliza. If you go to this sort of document, there's a Git pod for it, so you can sort of you can open the Git pod, set up the environment variables, and try out the Eliza plugin as well, which would actually allow you to do things like the Eliza plugin that would allow you to do things like integrate it into Twitter or integrate it into Discord, Telegram, other social platforms. That's where Eliza is pretty cool at the moment. You've got the ability to have agentic tool calling, function calling, but also it can be like a social agent where it's sort of plugging into your X profile and creating content on there or interacting with your users through there. So I think it's another interesting use case for these agents.
100%. And Nikita from the crowd, I think we all feel this, like making interactions with Web3 more easy and humanizing them makes it more accessible for all. So sure. Definitely lowering those barriers is the way to go.
Yeah.
I guess from your experience and what you've seen thus far, like, have you seen what are there any like memorable AI agents that you've seen built thus far, or something that's like really caught your eye?
Yeah. So on Hedera or just in general?
Both.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think in Hedera we were definitely later to the game than the likes of Solana and Base, who are really leading at the front. But there are some Hedera AI agent sort of tokens and communities which have popped up. So one is there's one called BSL Defender, which is basically it's got like a tool calling set where it actually checks. You ask it for a token, and it checks whether it gives it an analysis. Is this a rug pull? Is the creator of that token a bit dodgy? Have they been? Is it an account which just was created 5 days ago and there's loads of centralized exchange funding and it's created 10 tokens? That's a bit of a red flag. So there's that one, and it's got quite a funny personality. There's also some other ones in the community. So there's like one called Timmy AI, which is just savage. He just absolutely violates everyone. And so yeah, there's a few funny ones like that. I think it's naturally we see more the social type stuff which have personalities and are building communities, see them first. But there are also, I mean, I've spoken in like a personal capacity to some of the projects in our ecosystem who actually could really value from an AI agent. And I won't sort of drop any names, but I can give like a sort of conceptual example where one of the really big projects in our ecosystem, they are sort of they have a Web3 stuff, but they have a business outside which is sort of related to sports, and people who you could have an AI agent, which essentially people can interact with via Twitter, via X. I still call it Twitter all the time. People can interact with it via X, and it can ask it about, okay, well, what about this athlete, or what's up next? And you can have this sort of interaction where, as a result of that, they're getting exposure. They're almost getting marketing because people are asking questions on X, but also the user is getting that instant feedback in a nice, friendly chat way, as opposed to having to go to the website and dig around and then find the background about this particular athlete. So there are definitely some real valuable use cases that I see within the Hedera ecosystem, which aren't just the meme type stuff. And then I think outside of even the Web 2 and even the Web 3 industry, we're definitely seeing a lot of exciting businesses starting to adopt AI. Their risk appetite is getting a bit more receptive to AI now. I think a couple of years ago, I was working at HashGraph. I was working sort of for consultancies, and we were doing a lot of stuff with AI for clients. But most people were still in that early proof of concept stage, like, okay, yeah, but what if things go wrong? We really need a human in the loop. Now things are getting a bit more mainstream, and I think we're going to see the adoption of it all the time. I know if you see the stats, it's developers who are using it the most, as you'd expect, given we're at the front of tech. But yeah, it's a pretty exciting space, and it's moving quite quick. I think take everything that you hear from Sam Altman and Elon with a pinch of salt, because they are selling it. But also, there is a strong case that it's going to be even bigger than we can imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be wholly ingrained in our lives in some way or another, like regardless if we're developers or not. It's just like a matter of making it subtle enough so that people don't really understand. Like, for example, like just having like Claude or like O3 or whatever at your side when you're like developing at like a startup, or maybe you're like a solo founder, right? Like it's such a powerful thing now. Like you don't need such a big team anymore to be able to push out like really significant products, which is really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be interesting to see sort of where that develops, how it develops. But totally, you can have like a team of what would take 5 devs is now 1 dev plus an AI co-pilot. And I think you look at these sort of events historically, you've got every time there's an industrial revolution, people are like, oh, it's going to take jobs. But often what does happen is more jobs are created. So I don't know if this is the outlier. Maybe this is the final one where game over, and I don't know, or not, or we're a product of the typical human experience where we think, this is the end, and then actually loads of new innovations come out, and productivity increases, sort of equality around the world gets better. That'd be good.
Humans are pretty good at adapting, so
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll work out. We are unfortunately getting close to time. Just a couple final questions. Obviously, you see AI agents as one of the leading trends. Is there anything else that kind of excites you in the Web3 space now?
Yeah,
like
for sure. There's a lot of stuff. I think I touched on it slightly earlier with that sort of real world asset tokenization and that democratization of exposure to asset classes which weren't possible before, and the fact that someone from a part in the world where their currency is much weaker, they could actually invest $10, $20 into something where previously it's just totally ruled out. So that does excite me. And sort of the actual instruments, the financial instruments that can technically be created. This is another thing where it's just we can't even really imagine what can be created because of the operational and operational efficiency that gets enabled by DLT and atomic swaps, and also the sort of just efficiencies of it. Like the fractional ownership. These are things where traditionally, if you're doing this in TradFi, you need like 100 employees working on 100 different Excel spreadsheets to keep everything up to date. It's just not very feasible. But actually, when you have it built into a smart contract logic, it's native to the protocol. So that's exciting. I think also on the AI side, I mean, we spoke a lot about AI agents, but there's a lot of stuff on AI data integrity and a sort of data provenance, which is, I guess, a bit upstream of that AI lifecycle. It's more on the training data side and making sure that models are performing and make sure that models maybe haven't been poisoned by malicious actors. Because obviously, with AI being more adopted more frequently, that does bring risks. It does sort of have a new surface area of cyber attacks potentially. So having sort of this process transparent and on chain for use cases where the AI should be transparent is really quite exciting to see that development. And I've had a few conversations at ETH Denver about these sorts of things, or tokenizing data sets, which you can then sort of prove that this data set's good, and then you can license it to people. That's another exciting intersect of data and blockchain. But also, I think just generally in the Hedera ecosystem, I'm really just bullish actually at the changes which have been happening. We've got a lot of refinements in the Hedera Foundation, or sorry, the HBAR Foundation, soon to be known as the Hedera Foundation. Likewise, there's been sort of a lot of focus on going forward, and a big focus on retail. I think there's been Hedera has traditionally been known for it's that enterprise blockchain. It's got the governing council, and it's not targeted for retail users. And the learning over the last few years has been retail and enterprise. They're one and the same. They're symbiotic in the sense that if a enterprise might come over to Hedera and look at us and go, wow, this looks really good. There's really great governance. The tech's pretty cool, cheap. I can use EVM. I can use SDKs, which are more familiar for Web 2 devs. But what's the liquidity, or what's the total value locked? These are questions which get asked, and that comes from retail. So there's been a big understanding of this, and sort of, I guess, like a pivot of strategic strategy to focus on actually really empowering the community, getting them, the entrepreneurs in our ecosystem. So I'm really excited to see where that leads. And yeah, I think there's going to be some pretty cool news coming out in the next few months and years about our stuff and our ecosystem.
Amazing. And yeah, I think that's a great place to end things off. And just really quick again, if folks are indeed hacking or want to hack, what's the best way for them to find out? You mentioned checking out your X profile.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm pretty active on X, and I'm always happy to sort of answer questions and whatnot. I think in terms of if you're watching this live and you're taking part in ETH Denver, have a look at the ETH Denver website, and then that sort of directs you to the DevFolio website, which will give you all of the current hacks that we have, the current bounties that we have. But sort of in the future, we've got hedera.com/events. So that's where all of our future hackathons are. If you're by any chance you're in Kenya right now, if you have a Kenyan audience, then we've got a hackathon which is happening in Kenya. It's going to be online, aimed at a Kenyan audience. Recently, the Nairobi Stock Exchange just joined the governing council. So that's happening, basically starting next month, 24th of March. That's 1 week of hacking, and then there's going to be an in-person event on the 12th of April where everyone's going to come together. It's going to be a good networking event, and the top projects will pitch it to a live audience of judges, and we'll find the actual winner over there. So that's quite exciting. But yeah, for the bigger ones, I know we've got a couple hackathons in sort of the second half of the year, online ones open to everyone with pretty big prizes. You'll find that on hedera.com/events, and also just on the Hedera channels like LinkedIn, X. Those are probably the main ones. So yeah, there's various places, but also if you follow me, give myself the plug there. I'll be talking about these things a lot too.
Amazing. And yeah, we have Jake's X handle linked in the YouTube description, as well as tagged on X on this live stream right now. And with that, also for those of you who are watching live, I just dropped a link in the chat for you to claim your attendance badge from BitBadges for watching us live today. So you'll have an hour from now to be able to do that. So definitely get on that if collectibles are your thing. And Jake, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Really appreciate you having you on, man.
I really appreciate it, bro. Happy to come on anytime. So I really enjoyed this, and yeah, love talking tech.
Excellent. Yeah, looking forward to it, man.
Cool.
And happy Wednesday to everybody. Enjoy ETH Denver, and we will catch you back here actually on Friday, this Friday, for another episode of DevNTell. Until then, cheers. Enjoy the conference.